So I've got my coffee, my huge sweatshirt, and I've got my books. So let's do this. I am a little bit new to this YouTube world. I've been on TikTok for over a year now, and that sounded like such an interview question. I've been on TikTok for over a year, which is really weird to say because I downloaded the app as a joke. Something to do during the pandemic when we were all in lockdown, and somehow I ended up with over 300,000 followers. So you may know me from there. You may know me from Instagram, where I run the account Misty Mountain Legends. We also have a YouTube, me and my husband, called Misty Mountain Legends. We're really into Dungeons and Dragons. We play a lot of board games. So those are the content topics that we cover on those accounts. But this is going to be purely my BookTube, my little corner to talk about books while I drink lots of coffee. I made this. This is really good. So let's talk about books. I started 2021 with the goal of reading 21 books, and that was kind of a middle of the road goal for me. I have definitely read many books in my time. High school was prime reading time for me. I don't know how I managed to read as much as I did because I also had a lot of extracurricular activities. I was working, I was in a ton of classes, and then college happened. College happened, and I lost my passion for reading, and it stayed gone for a while, and I kind of forgot what it meant to read for fun. And it sucked because reading had been my escape for so long, and then it became a chore because I was a creative writing major and all I had to do was read. And it wasn't reading things that I necessarily liked. It definitely taught me a lot. It definitely grew me as a writer and a reader. But I've spent the past 4 years trying to get out of a rut. And so here I am. I passed my 21 goal already, and it's May 31st. I'm at 23 books, I think, out of my goal of 21. So I bumped it up to 45, and we'll see how that goes. I don't want to hold myself too strictly to a goal because I don't ever want to feel like it's a burden. I never want to get back into that place where reading is not something that I do for fun anymore. It's become a chore. So we'll see how that goes. But here we are. So for this video, I'm going to start by just talking about my top 4 books from the past month. These are the first 5 out of 5 stars that I've read this year. So I kind of went through a period of where reading, but not loving the books necessarily. They were good, but I wasn't like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, these four are amazing. First, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I'm starting with this one because it's a story about stories, and this book felt like listening to someone talk about something that I love deeply, and having coffee with someone who loves stories just as much as I do. And it was a deep connection to the main character for me. He's a guy who is gay, and obviously I'm not a guy and I'm straight. So there is a little bit of a difference there. However, I felt like Zachary was incredibly relatable to me, and when I relate to a character who doesn't have the same background as me, who doesn't have the same beliefs as me, who doesn't have the same, who's drastically different than me in lifestyle and history, and I can still feel like I see myself in them, that is a really well-written story. Zachary goes on this journey that is sparked by a book that he reads. And the book, we get to see chapters of the book as we follow his story, and we're reading what he reads that sparks this adventure. And I don't even know if adventure is the right word, because it's such a grand journey of self-discovery, and he comes back drastically changed, and I felt changed by this story. It's definitely odd, so if you don't like odd or whimsical, if you want all of your questions answered at the end, this is not going to make you satisfied. I was very happy with that, because it's reality. Like, we don't always know the full story, and that's kind of how this felt, but it definitely felt complete, if that makes any sense. I think everybody who loves stories should read this book. House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This book changed how I feel about an entire genre. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen, or TikTok, you've already seen my rambling video about how much I love this book. But I need to talk about it some more, because this book changed how I feel about the horror genre. And that is saying a lot, because I used to stay away from it religiously. Like, I would be like, oh, that's horror. Okay, it looked cool, but now I'm like, no, thank you. Without even reading it. I wouldn't even try it, because I don't like scary. I'm okay with creepy. I'm okay with suspense. I'm okay with mystery. Love mysteries. When it starts to get into like hauntings and demon possession, those things are a little too for me. Like nightmares kind of thing. So I was shocked by how much I loved this book, and I will recommend this book to anyone, especially people who think that the horror genre is not for them, because that was me until I read this book. So the Hollow sisters went missing 10 years ago. They were gone for 31 days, and then they reappeared on the same exact street that they initially went missing on, and there's something just a little bit odd about them. Their parents notice at first that their eyes turn black and their hair turns white, and the doctors are able to explain this away by trauma. You know, sometimes this happens after very traumatic events, especially in children, and he even has a name, which of course I don't remember. But then they also have this scar that's in the shape of a crescent moon on their neck, and that can't be explained away. And then things start to get really weird. The story is told from Iris's perspective 10 years after this event. Her oldest sister, Gray, has gone missing again. And her middle sister, Vivi, go looking for her. And the things that they uncover are more than unsettling. The Hollow sisters are what sold this book for me. The relationship that the three of them have that binds them together through the trauma that they've been through, as well as the trauma that they currently go through in this book, highlights how much they love each other and how much they care for each other. And I think at the core of the story, yes, there's horrifying things. Yes, there's mystery, suspense, there's creepy, there's gore, there's unsettling. But at the core of this story, it's about the love of three sisters for each other, and that is what really made me love this book. I'm kind of rambling about this book because I don't know how to talk about it without giving away major plot points, because the ending is I had to go talk to someone. I ruined it for my husband because I had to go talk to someone immediately after finishing it. I was like, I don't know if you want to read this book, but I'm going to tell you what happened, because I was so like at the end. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about this one now. The House in the Cerulean Sea. This book is like sitting on a sunny beach and enjoying the cool breeze and the sand in your toes and being surrounded by friends that make you laugh. This book is my happy place. There's definitely undertones here to this book where you can tell that Clune is trying to get at a larger point than what the story directly tells you. I'm I'm not going to really get into what that point is because I think that you need to read it and experience it that way. I don't want to spoil anything. But it's heavy and deep and happy and sad and funny all at once. I don't have words to describe how this book made me feel other than all the emotions. It made me laugh out loud, which I have not done while reading in a very long time. So that was automatically a win for me. I'm just going to read you a portion of my Goodreads review for this book because I've been stumbling over how to describe it without spoilers for a little bit. So I'm just going to do this. I know that's probably cheating, but I'm sorry. The main character of Linus Baker reminds me a bit of Winnie the Pooh. He's round, he's somewhat shy, and he likes things to be as they are. Change is hard, even when it's good. But he also has a large heart and is able to see what people deeply and truly need. That level of perception is rare, and even Linus does not fully recognize his skill at first. And I think that's what makes him such a wonderful, lovable character. Throughout the story, we get to watch and discover his own passion and wrestle with what his own large heart needs. Now, Linus is not my favorite character in the book, which he is the main character. But there's also 6 children that this book also focuses on, and they are amazing. All of these children have very distinct characters, and their dialogue really brings out their nature. But also, despite the fact that all of these children are magical and very powerful, Clune does a wonderful job of making them children. They sure, they're otherworldly, but they still have that young heart. They're still 100% believable as children who really just want to be loved and be accepted and have a home and a family. So for me, the found family aspect of this story was really what made me love it so much, but also the comedy, because there's a lot of funny quotes, especially from Lucy. I just loved their banter together, and the ending is inevitably beautiful. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Obviously this book is thick. My copy is, let's see, slightly more than 800 pages, 804 pages. Something that I really, really liked about this book that has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever is that at the back there's a Persons of the Tale, and there's pages and pages and pages describing who the people are and what their part in the story is, as well as a glossary of terms. That is so helpful, especially for a book this size with this many characters. Now, there's only 4 main characters that you get the perspective from. However, there's a ton of characters that they interact with, so it got to be a lot real fast. Not that that was necessarily a bad thing, because I have read a lot of books where there's multiple perspectives and it's overwhelming. You get way too much information and you're following like 6 different stories within this larger book. This didn't feel like that. This felt like everything was connected and flowing through one storyline instead of 6 or 7 different storylines, despite the fact that I was getting multiple perspectives. And not all of them are perspectives that I really enjoyed reading. There's one character in particular that I just could not like, and I don't think you're supposed to like him. He's not necessarily the nicest person, nor does he have a strong will or character, and he's been swayed to do some shady things. But I still enjoyed reading his perspective, because it was uncovering important things to the rest of the story. Even though I didn't necessarily like him, I needed to see that. I also really liked the depiction of dragons. Obviously, there's a dragon on the cover of this book, so dragons are important here. However, I really liked that there's this dichotomy between the dragons themselves. There's the good dragons and there's the bad dragons, the dragons of the dark and the light. And the kingdoms are also split between whether they like the dragons and worship them, or whether they hate the dragons and they see them as the bringer of the end of the world. Just as this is a large book, it is set in a large world, and there's a lot of kingdoms mentioned and a lot of places visited. And each location had a very specific feel. Shannon does a wonderful job of developing her world. She has the lore down, she has the languages, she has the dialect, she's got different creatures, she's got different descriptions of what these like palaces and cities look like, so that they're distinctly different. And that must have taken a lot of time and a lot of notes. And it's all 100% believable. Sometimes I feel like I read a fantasy story and it gets out of control. It's all too much, or it's all the same. In different kingdoms look the same, have the same terrain, the same structures, but this world felt like everything was distinctly its own. And that really helps with the immersion of the reader into the world. If you've looked at this book before and you said, wow, that's really big, that's really intimidating, which is what I did before I started reading it, do not be put off by the size of this book, because the story moves quickly and it's so immersive that it never felt like it was dragging. I wish that it was longer because I want more of the story. So there you go. These are my 5 out of 5 stars for 2021 so far. I don't really have a set structure right now. I'm just kind of doing this and seeing what happens. So I can't predict what's gonna come next. I will let you know. I'm currently reading A Winter's Promise, which is the first book in the Mirror Quartet series. And I'm really loving it, so I'll probably talk about that next. I hope that you enjoyed my rambling about books. Comment and let me know what you think about these books, or if you have suggestions or questions. I'm going to drop my Goodreads link and my TikTok and Instagram and all that fun stuff in the description as well. And I'll link to these books so that you can get one yourself if you want one. And you should, because they're great. I just rambled about them for like 45 minutes, so obviously I'm going to recommend them. All right, cool. Let's sign off now. All right, bye.